Hey, and welcome to the broadcast of Glue Wednesday. Glue Wednesday, and this is where it all started, is with Wednesday. 3 years ago, I started doing Glue Wednesday based on the fact that people said that Wednesday was hump day. And that was a colloquial term, really looking at in olden days, olden days, old school days, that our work week was Monday to Friday. And the weekend was a totally separate thing. So they used to call Wednesday hump day. Well, with my sensitivity and always telling people to control your vocabulary rather than allowing your vocabulary to control you and being more confident and positive about what you do, I decided that hump has the connotation of the need to get over, whereas Wednesday itself is actually the middle of a traditional 7 day week. So it's the glue. It keeps the week beginning and the week end together. Wednesday is the glue. So we don't need to get over, we need to keep it together. And then my glue is GLUY. God's love undoes everything. Not that it'll tear it apart, but whatever is torn apart, God's love will bring it back together for you. Hey, what's up, Art? So, yeah, good to see you. I always get on 5 minutes earlier, so we've got less than 4 minutes for today's message. So I hope you'll be staying with me. But either way, good to see you, man. Speak on it. That's right, and that's the truth. And even though the day's message will start in 5 minutes, less than 4 minutes, I never stop talking about the flow of what we're going through in our lives. And so again, if you look at how important it is to see Wednesday or as the glue, but to see any day, to see any moment as us having a need to keep it together. Y'all, that's what we got to do. So in fact, that's part of what I'm doing with Glue Wednesday. Is it's so successful. So many people have thanked me and blessed me and told me how it blessed them. That during the pandemic, I increased the broadcast to include Glue Monday and Glue Friday. So I'm going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with Glue because guess what? We need to keep it together every day and every moment. So that's what it's all about is the glue, keeping it together. We got less than 3 minutes for today's message. Got a shout out hello from Vic, who always likes to get in there, and then my good buddy Roger Carroll Rogers in in Chicago. The Sporty King supporters, families, and friends. Yeah, we got a lot. Oh man, woo, everybody's coming on. What's up, Joey? Yeah, another one of my family members. Last night I did my broadcast and we were laughing because one of my guests on there was um, Pat Harris, and so Roger Carroll and I know Pat, and we were laughing about how I become an unofficial member of their family because I crashed their family reunion so much. Well, this guy here, Joey Waddell, I'm unofficial member of their family too because I crashed, but I enjoyed it. At least I got invited to their family reunion. Pat invited me, but I just always like to say that I was crashing. But I'm official member of theirs, unofficial member of the Waddell family as well. They had some great family reunions as well. They get different T-shirts according to the generation that you were in and everything. I mean, it was bad, but it messed us up in my personal family because then when we tried to have our first one, and I had this idea about the T-shirts and everything, my family members were like, "Oh, well, we don't need to do that." And, they didn't want to pay extra. I'm like, "What?" So we had one family reunion, found out that we really didn't need to get together that often. We could just be, family by phone. And, and it's fun. So we got a good, overall family. We got less than a minute for today's message. But yeah, we love you, bro. Yep. Even if we can't, if we not hooked on phonics. Okay, there we go. Love. Okay. But we can live you as well. It's good to live somebody just as much as it is to love them. That becomes again, look at your vocabulary. When you live someone, that means you're enjoying life with them. You're living through them, sometimes through their experience, sometimes sharing your experience. So you can live somebody as well as love them. Okay, I worked on that one for you, Joey. And then Florence, joy is ruling all over. Yes. And joy is Joy, just one you. Without you, certain things would not get done. So thank you, Florence. And one of my friends just reminded me to separate the wheat from the chaff. There's so much chaff out here right now. We have a hard time finding our blessings. That's a great statement there, Roger Carroll. Let's park there for a second, because what we have to do is start to think about the statements that you make. Okay, don't worry about whether they're positive or negative, but hear what you're saying, because the key is the number one communication skill is listening, not speaking. So what we have to do is hear ourselves, because a lot of times our vocabulary itself is on automatic pilot, and we just say something that's rote that we're used to saying, heard somebody else say, and we're saying it like what Roger Carroll's statement here is a great statement. It's a fact. And so now the key becomes, now that we have this fact, what are we going to do? Are we now going to believe in the fact, or are we going to look for solution? And here's what I'm talking about, because she said it reminded me to separate the wheat from the chaff. See, so that's saying I'm going to do it. The topic is buried in the second session. So much chaff out here that we have a hard time finding it. But so you have to remind yourself to separate the wheat from the chaff. So she's putting the action up front and saying, here's what is the solution, here's the problem that it's going to solve. And so that's what I'm saying about hear what you're saying, and then look for parts to emphasize your belief and what you're saying. That becomes the key. That becomes the key. So thanks for that little comment there, for that big comment there. That's why I left it up a while so people could read it and really think about that. And it also takes us. I've read the Bible 9 times. That's my favorite novel, and I read it a different way each time. By the way, the first time I read it straight through as a novel, not trying to learn nothing, just reading it. Then I read it from front, where I read from Genesis and Revelations in, and then I read it from Revelations backwards. I always come with a different way of reading. So I just actually finished reading it my 9th time 4 days ago, and so this statement from Roger Carroll about separating the wheat from the chaff is not in Revelation. I don't think it's in the book of Revelation, but it could be, because I'm not one of those people that quotes the Bible. I always say I use the Bible. And I know that separating the wheat from the chaff is in there, because it talks about how when someone was planting good seed, and as the good seed starts to grow, the weeds get in between. And so now I know for sure it wasn't in Revelation, because the people asked Jesus, should we separate, should we cut it all out now? And he said, no, let it grow. Let it grow. And then when the crop has grown, we'll separate the wheat from the chaff. So P.S., by the way, in case you don't get that, what we're saying here with it, it's a biblical statement, but that's what it's saying. We have to grow among the chaff. Aren't we considering ourselves the wheat? We're considering ourselves the good crop, but we can't live in this world alone. We have to grow with the chaos and through the chaos. So you can't get rid of negativity. I'll never say that you can get rid of negative. Thank you, Roger Carroll. Matthew 3:12. You right at the beginning of the New Testament. The book of Matthew is the first book in the New Testament. So right away, Jesus is saying, hey, you know what? You can't separate the wheat from the chaff until the crop has grown. So you have to grow first so that you can separate. See, if you're young in your Christian life, or whatever your ministry, in your job, in what's going on in our lives today, if it's new, you can't separate it yet. You have to get some growth from it first, so that now you can say, okay, here's what I'm going to do now. Now I see what I'm dealing with, and I like that. I like that as a way of walking us into today's message. Because today's message, I'm calling it a toast of life, a toast of life. And what happened is, I was online MC last week at a graduation for some young entrepreneurs through a program called Aspire here in Charlotte. And we had 13 graduates, and they are all new in their entrepreneurial walks, or continuing their entrepreneurial walk. Some of them didn't just start a brand new business, but they got in this program to help them enhance their business. And at the end, I said, let me give you a toast for an entrepreneur, for being an entrepreneur. So I just, on the spot, I just kind of broke down what I thought toast should stand for. And so the subtitle on this for me is, it's an entrepreneurial lessons for a pandemic public. So I'm going to give you what I said to them in terms of what of toasting them, because we toasted them at the end of the graduation. But I want to show you how the same toast that I would give to an entrepreneur is one that we can use in our pandemic situations, because we're now entrepreneurs in this new lifestyle. Don't you know? And let me give you a spoiler alert, far reaching thought is that this is the way it could be for the rest of your life. And that's the truth, because you don't know when you're going to die. So if today is your last day, this is the way it was until the day you died. This could be, that's why I call it not the new normal, but the now normal. This could be the way our lives are for the rest of our lives. So while we're beating ourselves up, fighting, and there's where that wheat and that chaff is, we're so busy struggling, trying to get out of it, we are not allowing ourselves to grow in it yet enough so that we can see what parts we want to be able to do without, what parts can we shed. When you separate the wheat from the chaff, you don't just randomly just go start snatching everything out. You see the set, I got to separate this part and I got to separate this, because I got to recognize the wheat from the chaff before I can separate it. So let me give you what I looked at in terms of toasting, the toast of life. First of all, my acronym for life is LIFE, lessons intended for everyone. So in fact, I want to say, what lessons are we getting, not just from this pandemic, but what lessons can you get before you decide to be an entrepreneur? Because we'll get some new entrepreneurs from the pandemic. We'll get some people who decide, well, I'm not going to go back to my job. I'm going to start my own business. We'll get some people who say, oh, I can't go back to my job. I have to start my own business. And I laugh because, you know what? You've got to laugh at some of the things that happen. If you get down and out about things, a lot of times you really can't go forward. You can't go forward if you spend so much time getting down and out, okay? So be careful about that. So there we got a little shout out from Shirley. That's Tony, saying hello to the family, and I highlighted it because I'm going to be referencing her later on, so I might as well give a spoiler alert on that shout out as well. But life, lessons intended for everyone. What have you learned in your life that can help you go forward, move sideways, step backwards? What lessons have you learned? And they're your lessons. So you see, it's so important that you toast yourself by toasting life. So here's how I'd say you toast life. First, we take the first letter of toast is T. And what I say to entrepreneurs is, first is trust your track record. You always hear me say that, but when you decide to be an entrepreneur, you have to look back at what's been going on in your life, and you've got to trust that this is a good decision, because entrepreneurship, a lot of people call it stepping out on faith. And I like to say stepping up on fear. Because, when people say stepping out on faith, they say, yeah, it's scary to start your own business. But that's why I call it stepping up on fear. And then I want to let fear stand for FEAR. Faith eventually attracts resources. I'll have to put that in the feed since I don't have it on the ticker. But faith eventually attracts resources. When you start out in your own business, you're not going to have the support of your friends and family. Not all of them, not 100%, because some of them are scared for you. And it's what I talk about, having a negative vibe sometimes. I talked about that last night in our session. You don't have to be a negative person, but you can have a negative vibe for the people that you love because you're scared for them. But for instance, when I left Wall Street Journal and started my own business, I had family and friends who were like, you're doing what? You leaving a secure corporate job to start at the time, it wasn't a speaking business, to just be on your own. A lot of people, don't you know that this, and you're not going to have insurance and you won't have the health care. So, those are the types of things that people start to come at you. Good reasons, by the way. They're good reasons for you not to keep going, but it's a negative vibe, because if you believe that this is what you need to do, then you have to go for it. So, but faith eventually attracts resources. Once you show, no, this is what I really have in full intentions on doing, this is what God has planned for my life, eventually people say, oh, because they thought, oh yeah, they just fly by night, I don't need to support them. They'll come to their senses in a couple of months and we'll be just fine. But after you go a year and 2 years, they say, oh, wow, this is really what they intend to do with their life. Okay, let me see what I can do to help. Let me see if I have any kind of connections. Because I'm not going to give you a referral when you're crisp and brand new. I don't know how you work. So I can't give you, I'm not going to give you a referral and let you mess up my good name. That's really what people have to, they're thinking, not consciously, but it's the truth. But once they see that you've been in your business, and now I've been in mine for a quarter of a century, people will be happy to refer me now because there's a consistency in my message where they can say, well, Sporty's going to bring this. So now when they refer my name, and please do, they will be referring me saying, you know what? I think that once Sporty delivers with these people, they won't say, oh man, who the hell did you send us to? That's really what a referral is. So, just recognize that. So trust your track record when you decide to become an entrepreneur, and then make sure that you're stepping up on faith, not on a lie. Because we've got people who just, oh, well, I'm going to start my business, but they're lying to themselves about how committed they are. You have to make sure that you are going to be committed to what you're going to do. And you can have yourself a time frame for how long you're going to check your commitment. There's nothing wrong with that. So, but then don't lie to yourself when you get to that spot, depending on what you've set as the metrics for your ongoing success. But ask yourself these questions. Who are you doing this for? Why are you doing it? And then remember that anger and frustrations can be good motivators, but be sure to monitor them and direct them to the right instances, not people. Now, what I'm saying there, maybe you leave a job, a corporate job or a company job to start your own business out of anger. Well, I don't have to take this. I'm going to start my own business. Or, oh man, I'm not getting anywhere. I need to start this business. See, those are anger and frustration. And those could be great motivators for you to say, I need to get it together and I'm going to go on and start this business. But you have to make sure that you're not so angry and frustrated that you're passing that on to your customers, your clientele, the people around you, because everybody is your customer. Everybody is your clientele. Because if you piss me off, I'm going to tell somebody else when they say, oh, have you considered using this? Man, you know what? When I went there, no. Okay. So don't let that anger and frustration pass on to the people around you. Use it as your fuel for I'm in this on my own or by myself, rather. This is my business. And we're going to talk about that as well. But this is what I need to do. Let it be that type of anger and frustration. Pandemic wise, are you telling one another that you can't get along? Are you say, oh, well, that's what the headlines say, we can't get along. How about telling one another why you can get along? You have to learn to coexist in increments. Don't do this pandemic in 3 months. First of all, you don't know how long it's going to last. That's some people's challenge, is that they think this is going to be going on for the next 6 months. No, well, how about seeing how well you can deal with one another for 6 minutes? Dougie Fresh will be on. But how about 6 hours? Then do 6 days. Then do 3 weeks, which is half of 6 weeks. See, live with it and coexist in increments. And I think you'll find that you'll do a much better job of working yourself through this pandemic, because it's not going away. So the T in toast was for track record, trusting your track record. The O is for ongoing success. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you've got to be in it for the rest, for 100%. Let me see what some comments are. You can't move forward if your sight is fixed on the rear view mirror. That's why it's so small. It gives you a smaller look at what you're leaving behind. You don't need a big look at it. That sometimes very true. All right. And increments will help you get through. Okay. And indeed, and Vic was probably co-signing that same thing. Thank y'all. All right. So ongoing success. When you decide to be an entrepreneur, be in it, just like your life. Be in your life for the duration. See, I'm in my life for the rest of my life. Are you? Be in your life for the duration and recognize, well, I'm giving it 110%. Bulletin, 100 is all you have. And your 100 will vary. Sometimes you will just have the energy level of 80% of who you are. Well, if that's all you've got is 80% today, give me 100% of your 80. Give your 100% of who you are whenever. And that becomes the key as an entrepreneur and in life. Are you in your life for the long run? And are you going to give it 100%? at every time that it can, because your 100% will vary. And that's why you have to forgive yourself when your body lets you know that you're human, especially an entrepreneur. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you don't work Monday to Friday. You work Sunday to Saturday, or you could work Saturday to Friday, or you could work Friday to Thursday. But that, you're in business all the time, and you can say, well, I'm only going to work my business up till 7 o'clock at night. Okay, and then you can still be saying that at 9 and at 10. Okay, but there comes a time where your body's going to say, excuse me, you cannot continue at this pace. Listen to your body. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you're going to have to listen to your body and pace yourself. And that's the same thing that we have to do as human beings in our lives. Pace yourself and don't overwork yourself. If this is pandemic advice, don't overwork yourself. I'm at home. See, so you'll overwork yourself. You go, oh, let me go do some laundry. Let me do this, and let me be on the computer. Slow down. Take breaks during the day. In fact, take more breaks than you took at the job, because you took unconscious breaks at the job. When you got up to go to the bathroom, you got up to go to get some water, when you got up to just go run to the cafeteria to get a snack. Those were unconscious and unscheduled breaks that you took when you were at work. And now you're at home. When you get up to go to the bathroom, you feel like you're cheating your job. When you get up to go make yourself a sandwich, man, I'm not giving as much time as I did. Your job is getting more time from you, more quality time from you than they did in the building, which is also why there'll be some new entrepreneurs out of this whole thing. So forgive yourself and don't overwork yourself because you're at home. Pace yourself and notice the different pace and make it work for you. See what your new pace is, and then make it work. You figure out, how much time you can spend in the day doing this. I'll be taking a break and go and watch TV. And I didn't watch TV a lot. When I was at work, I didn't go to the break room and watch TV. I've watched more television since I've become an entrepreneur than I did when I wasn't. All right. So take those breaks. Okay. So that's and let me see what we got. I'm retired already. Right. And I love it. Yeah. I'm stuck with me. And that's a good thing. And I'm stuck with me. But are you sticking to being you? See, so think about, again, hear your words. I'm stuck with me. Yes, but I'm stuck. I'm going to say that with happiness. Yeah. I'm stuck with me. This is who I got, and I'm stuck with me, and I'm glad. I'm sticking with me. I'm retired already. That means I was tired once, and I'm tired again. All right. Okay. But you do my travel 24/7. That's right. And what Victoria said, I work 36 hours in my business around the clock. My body told me that wasn't a good idea. Right. You got to listen to your body and maybe work 35 hours. Okay. But you got to make sure that you do listen to your body. So thank you for that. And Vic, I take naps and love them. You have to. It gives you a chance to re-energize yourself. One of the best things you can do, we've heard the term stress busters. One of the best things you can do to relieve your stress is take a nap. It gives your body a chance to recharge, but also give your brain a chance to recharge and refresh itself. So take some naps. Why do you think we have kids do it? You think that, kindergartners should have the market cornered on taking naps? No, we need them more when we're grown-ups. Because we also need to, don't worry about the fact that, well, I'm old and I'm tired. No, you need to take a nap as well and just refresh yourself, because you got a lot more going on than those preschoolers did. Okay. So that's the T, the O, and now the A stands for ask questions. If you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, because we do want to be successful, and success, as we're talking about in my series, which I hope y'all will register for next week when I post when it's going to be, success is not about financial success. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, we want to be successful, you have to ask questions. Don't be the smartest person that you know. That I've made that mistake. I'm not pointing the finger, but and it comes and goes. There was a time, so you have to ask questions. This also goes to where I say to you, choose your messengers carefully. But don't be the smartest person you know, even though there will be times where you'll have to go with what you decide, or with your gut, or with your education, your background, your experience. But make sure that you ask questions, which does not mean, by the way, that you have to take that advice, but you do want to ask the questions. Recognize that you are not alone. There's somebody else who's walked the path. They've walked it differently. So asking the question does not mean that you're going to be taking that path, but it does mean that you know that give you an idea of what the path may look like. Somebody said something about asking questions. I didn't realize the value of naps, Victoria, until I became an adult. Right, that's a great point. Because you know what? And that's that we never stop learning. And we learn a lot more as an adult than we do as kids. And now I know that sounds weird, but think about it. Kids are learning something for the first time. When we learn it as an adult, that means that we've had the lesson, the example 2, 3, 4 times, and it took us the 5th, 6th, or the 7th time to learn it. Can you already see where I'm coming with that? When you really learn it as an adult, you have a lot of other things in there, and you found the space for that. A kid's learning something, it's fresh and brand new. They got plenty of space to learn things. They don't have anything to compare it to. So therefore, their learning, it sticks in a different way. If you don't have another option, you don't always learn. Sometimes our learning comes through having an option and then choosing which way we want to go. So you learn a lot as an adult. Stop giving up on yourself. True, it's a good stuff. That's right. You know who you're with. And then Vic said yes. Okay, so I'm liking this new way of this. This is making the message going a lot smoother. So as you ask the questions, as an entrepreneur, remember, compete against yourself to be better each time. If you're saying, oh, I want to be better than my competition. If you were, oh, I want to be like my competition. If you were like your competition, you wouldn't have become an entrepreneur. Becoming an entrepreneur is saying there's another way to do this. I see how so-and-so is doing it, but there's another way, and here's how I'm going to do it. So now that you've decided that you're going to do it your way, why do you keep going back to how they're doing it? You're not letting yourself go forward. Compete against yourself. I only compete against Sporty. I only have to get better each time. And there'll be times where I'll lose because I've decided to stay true to myself. How's that sentence sound? I decided to stay true to myself. So and I lose because of that. That's a loss I'm willing to take. Now I've got to go back to life, F-I-L-E, lessons intended for everyone. What lesson am I going to get? Am I going to do it differently, or am I going to keep doing it the same way? Because I know they like to say when you keep doing the same things the same way, you're going to get the same results. Why does that have to be negative? Sometimes you have to keep doing things the same way because you need to get the same results. The results get better depending on the setting that they're in. So sometimes the action may not necessarily change, but the setting that it's being used in now may change, and it may be the absolute right action for that setting or that situation. Patience is always a key. So we got some comments there. Okay. Remember that. Oh, yeah. Brains have neuroplasticity. And so that's why, when we're talking about the adult learning, you've got your brain is now used to making the adjustment. That's neuroplasticity. It's flexible. It say, okay, I want to do this, and I remember that. It's the file starts to click. Okay, I recognize this from somewhere. So that's the beauty of it all. And then Kevin said, when you share what you learn with someone else, you both grow. Yes. And the reason you both grow is because now it goes back to choosing your messengers carefully and recognize you're carefully being chosen as a messenger. I always joke with my mentees and call them my mentors and let them know every now and then. And I say, thank you, mentor. And they'll come, oh, no, you're the mentor. And I say, no, thank you, mentor, because I cannot be a good mentor if I don't have a good mentee. We both have to learn and grow. You grow as my mentee, Kevin, right? Because you have just given me, you grow as my mentee because I've just given you information that's going to help you grow. I grow as a mentor because I just found out that the advice I gave helped you grow. And now I can be confident about giving it to someone else. So we all grow. That's so true. Partnerships are good too. And partnerships are good. And not to be negative, but they're dangerous. That's the key is you can't be in a good partnership if you're not in partnership. Spoiler alert, that the S in toast is going to be for self, making sure that you like yourself. You have to be your partner so that you can be a good partner. Right now, even with this pandemic stuff, I think that who we can learn a lot from and who should be thriving right now are the married couples. You should actually be thriving because you have made a conscious decision to coexist with this person in your life. Why would you now let the media tell you that you're having problems with them? Now you have to now shift your thinking. This is the life partner who I've chosen. How can we make this new situation work? It's from death do we part until death we part. Well, here's one of the things that's happening in your life before death. So now let's figure out how to make it work. Okay. What you say, your advanced computer skills, an example of not giving up. Enhanced computers. Yeah, right. And you know what? I was so blessed. One of my nephews said to me, he said, Uncle Sport, I admire how you keep learning things about the computer because I'm 64. A lot of people 64, 60, 55, they're so busy saying, oh, this damn technology is too complicated. They've given up on trying to learn. And see, I didn't realize that he's in his 30s. I didn't realize that he saw that in me and that he was impressed enough to tell me. There's a young person who's looking at what you're doing and they're doing the same thing. They're saying, wow, he or she is not giving up. And they're that age. And I've had some of my nephews, another nephew, one of his friends, Raheem, I got to give you a shout out because that's my boy. He said, man, I want to be like you when I get your age. And this was back when I was in my 50s and I was partying. And I was sweated out for partying. He said, man, I want to be like that when I get your age because we were partying hard. So thank you for that, Joey. Trust your track record and laugh at your lack record. Y'all know I always say that, okay? And Karen, you have the growth mindset. And then we need to look in that mirror and say that. You have the growth mindset. You have to talk to yourself. There's the S again. It's coming. You have to talk to you. One of the cartoons I use in my presentations is with Daffy Duck. And he says, of course, I talk to myself every now and then. I need expert advice. Yeah, talk to yourself. You know the answer. Don't they say there's 3 sides to every story, right? Mine's, yours, and the truth. You know all 3 sides of the story when you ask yourself a question. Who better to get advice from? So thank you, Karen. And oh, man, it's good to see you. We go way back into my Washington, D.C. days. But when I was making the decision to move to Charlotte was while I was in D.C. partying with somebody like Karen Richards, who was running her own ad agency at the time. And I was with the newspaper. And we developed a great friendship. And there was also a wonderful example. Let me tell you, when I talked about competition, compete with yourself to be better every time. When I was in DC, the advertising agencies, and this is a blessing, they got together. They were the competitors. They got together to give me a going away party. They worked that thing out. On the field, they're competing for business. But it was like, okay, now competition time's over. Right now, we're working on doing this for Sporty, and we working it. And they didn't have to sit down and have that. Well, I'm going to do this. They didn't fight that out. Their competition was in what they were doing in their business, but as people, they said, here's what we're going to do now. So I always remember y'all for that, Karen. Thank you. I appreciate you. Vic, exactly. See how people truly are the blessing. All right. Stepping at the Roger Carroll, stepping at the 50-yard line, boys. Yeah, you're right. I did some partying in Chicago, and at the 50-yard line was the stepping spot. Boy, I liked it. Looking good, Sporty. You look just as amazing. Thank you, Karen, and you are so right. Now I'm an entrepreneur. Yay! Because see, when she was at an ad agency, she was an entrepreneur. So don't any of us think that we're not entrepreneurs. We just have a different title. When we're in the company, you're an entrepreneur trying to do things differently for the company's sake. So that still makes you an entrepreneur. So you can learn a lot of those skills and take them with you. All right, a hell of a party. Yeah, we did. It was, as I'm saying it, I'm thinking that picture with me with the balloons holding up my tie and everything. We party hard. Okay, Michael, do you ever slow down do I ever slow down? I do. Because then earlier I talked about listening to your body and resting. And it's so, look how God works. My good friend Mike Grundy says, do you ever slow down, my energetic friend? But here's a gentleman who runs marathons, but even when he's not running his marathon, he's up and exercising, he's running. every day, you know, and I think he's a year or two older than I am. He's in great shape, but that's one of my mentor mentees. That's my brother. And so, do you ever slow down? Nope, just like you, I don't. Julie, yep. Julie and Randy, yep. That's it. Oh, yes, they were. Yes, they were. I'm in touch with it. And Vic, 19 years in his own travel business. Yes, almost 2 decades, Vic. Another way of saying it. It sounds better, right? I'm 2 decades into my business. And you can go on and claim that 20th year now. You don't have to wait for it. All right. Okay. So 2 decades into the business. Yep. Victoria, Chicago was in the house. So let me go on and get through this quick. And I gave you the spoiler alert that the S was going to stand for self. All right. And so it does. Let me get back and take that off. Oh, 5 miles a day. Thank you, Mike. He runs 5 miles a day and he's 66 years young. Do sixes, right? 5 miles a day. I ain't mad at you. I get mad on Tuesdays. I stay away from Tuesdays. So I told you the S was going to be for self. So we already touched on it, but be your own friend. Self is SELF. Self-esteem loves foundation. Like you so that you can love the people around you. If you don't like you don't have a package to deliver to anybody. But entrepreneurs, enjoy your business so that you can share that enjoyment. And then in the case of if the business fails, you still have had a good time. You know, that's the way I look at my speaking. Hey, if this didn't work, I had a ball trying it. Now I can at least say, well, I tried that and now I'm going to do this. And it's okay. Remember, it's not going backwards. It's stepping back and taking a look at your work and appreciate that you took the chance and the try. All right. Okay. And then Vic going to give that shout out. Vic, we're going to give Michael a shout out for running his marathon. Hey, there goes my guys. Randall KPP Jones. He always called me Sparky, but this was another great twist in my life, y'all. Randy he directed a play and he gave me the starring role when that was not my profession, you know, but he had a role. Are you playing the role in your life that you had not really prepared for? Sometimes that's what, when you listen to who you're listening to, that's why I listened to Randy and I let him direct me because he saw something that would make me good for his play, and said, here's what you can do. And he helped me. And man, we rock. We had 2 great performances. So thank you, Randy. And he wants to interview me on his podcast. And you know, I'm definitely going to make him do that. Let him do that. I love it. And then what Karen said, fail forward sometimes. And then, like they say, don't fall forward, fail forward. In other words, I know that for me, I give you this, okay? Fail, F-A-I-L, faith activated in loss. So fail forward, faith activate. Ooh, I just failed, but I was going forward and I activated from this loss what I'm going to do. Don't always worry about falling down. Haven't you seen it in the cartoons or in real life? Not in real life, but in the movies where somebody fell and then a bullet went over their head or something. You know, just a lot of different ways of looking at it. And Randy said, yeah, I was wonderful in the play. It was called A Company of Wayward Saints. Don't think I'll ever forget that moment, Randy. I'll never forget you. And I know I was wonderful. Man, because you're a great director. We rocked that play. And see, this is what I was saying to you about self. Again, like yourself. See, we had such a good time putting on that play that it didn't matter that we didn't have a sellout audience. We had a good time. And we walked off the stage feeling fulfilled. We just gave the performance of our lives. That's what you want to be doing as an entrepreneur. And that's what we want to do in our real life. So take care of yourself. And then this is where I told Tony, this is where I'm going to give Tony the shout out. What did it say? Okay. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn. That's right. Because it's a mistake. In other words, you know how they say, okay, take 1, take 2. It's a mistake. So maybe in take number 2, it didn't work. So you just have to miss that take and go on to take 3. Bam! All right, I'll never forget. And thank you, because Karen came and watched the show. Yeah, Vic, another part of my life, okay? And yes, I embraced the opportunity. How will you embrace your opportunity to be an entrepreneur as well as to be a person in your own life? This is a chance you get. Every day is another chance you get to be you. Are you embracing that opportunity? Man, we are learning so much from you. We want you to embrace that opportunity as well. but take care of yourself. So this is what I said I want to give Tony the shout out, because she and I were talking about mental health last night. And she was saying, so do you think it's okay to not be okay? And I said, this is what I texted. I said, yes, it's so important. It's okay to not be okay, because it means that you're being honest with yourself and thinking about taking the positive step, which would be to purposely get help. See, when you say, I know I'm not okay, then at least you're not in denial. You say, I know I'm not okay. I need to get help. So now what are you going to do? You're going to go get therapy. You're going to go get medication. Take the positive step that you want to do. Because a lot of people, think about it, people don't want to go to the hospital for physical injury. So it triple doubles when it comes to mental injury. We don't want to admit that we need help, but we don't want to even when we hurt ourselves physically, we don't even want to go to the hospital. So that's why you have so many people dealing with mental illness and not seeking help. But once they so they got to get out of denial and say, you know what, I need help. A lot of people have therapists right now, and it's not because they have mental illness. They're talking through some stuff. I had somebody who talked about how they're dealing with it through grief, through the loss of a spouse. You can have it through the loss of a loved one. Some people get grief counseling from loss of a pet. What do you love? What do you need counseling on? It's no different than people say they need to get business coaching. It's still the same. It's just a different way of getting counseling. But recognize that mental illness is a treatable disorder in a lot of ways, a lot of times. But it first means that the person who has the disorder or the challenge has to say, I want help. Because you can't help anybody until they want the help, because they'll resist it. You were never afraid of a big challenge. What I've always thank you, Karen. No, I never was afraid of a big challenge, and I never will be, because I think that challenge is just change with an LLE in the middle. You see how we walk right into that? Look at it, CHALLENGE. So challenge is just change with an LLE in the middle. And life is about change, but life is also about LLE, life's learning experiences. What can I learn from this experience that will make me go on with my life? And that becomes the key. Karen must, oh, look at Randy. See, now he done put this together. You're never afraid of a big challenge, because I always love you. So then Randy says, Karen, you must have learned a lot. those are two, brother and sister fighting, because they used to work together in the same agency. I love them. Victoria, where there's struggle, there's misalignment, like a mistake, misalignment. You can just be out of alignment sometimes. That's a great way of looking at it. Amen. A message that everyone needs. And then life's learning experience. Yes. And then we also make sure we put an S on it, but it should be a singular as well, because you learn one lesson at a time in most cases, but it can be a whole bunch of other lessons at the same time. It can be a wonderful experience. I love it. Okay, so be your own partner. And then lastly, the last thing in toast is time. Time. And with time, I'm saying to you, when you toast yourself as an entrepreneur, is have patience with yourself. And you obviously see how that goes both ways. Have patience with yourself and recognize that you are going to have ups and downs. That's a part of the deal. But also, when you think about patience, think about how life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either a small, medium, or a large piece, of every puzzle in each of your family, social, or business relationships. Yet, no matter what puzzle piece size you see yourself as, without you, the puzzle is incomplete. And sometimes, in fact, many times, we need to see ourselves as the nucleus of the puzzle, regardless of whether you're small, medium, or large. You're the nucleus of your puzzle, your life experiences. What does the nucleus, what does the middle of a puzzle have to do? It has to be patient and wait for the puzzle to come to it. It has to wait for life to complete it. Sometimes you can build out, but we usually build the borders, the guidelines, and we work in toward a puzzle. So be your nucleus of your puzzle and have that patience with yourself to know that you're going to be successful. But don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. There's a difference between having patience and lying to yourself. So recognize that that's what we always want to do, is have that patience with ourselves. And lastly, one of the things that when I was saying with Tony, when we're talking about mental health, a message that I've heard a lot this last couple of weeks from different pastors, and that is that God is never surprised. Okay, so because Tony, I said God never says wow, he says now. But I heard some pastors, like two different pastors at different services, talk about, God's not surprised. He doesn't say, "Oh my goodness, is that so?" God is not surprised. He's like, "This is what I do." That's how you can be. You don't have to be all that surprised. But you have to recognize that God has given you a gift to share. So while others are saying, "Wow," God is saying now. He's saying now is the time for use the gift. To use the gift that I've given you, as only you can use it. Who are you going to coach? Who are you going to mentor? Who are you going to be a mentee to? Who are you going to direct in a play? That's what it's all about. And then what did you say, Karen? Sometimes problems are just a lack of boundaries in an area of your life and business. Yeah, that's what sometimes problems are, lack of boundaries. Why? Because you haven't said, this is as far as I go. I will not accept this. Yeah, and so now it becomes a problem because you haven't set that boundary. See, once you decide this is what I stand on, it's no longer a problem for you. It might be a problem for somebody else who's not getting what they want, but at least the problem is no longer in your court, and that's what it's all about. Have a great day, safe and sound, everybody. Hey, thank you, Vic, for giving that early shout out because we are coming to the end. And what are we saying here, Shirley? Have a great, okay. I appreciate your insight on upcoming conference theme. It's okay not to be okay. That's right. It really is okay not to be okay. So have the patience. And so I close by saying cheers. And now imagine if your eyes were closed and you heard cheers. You think CHEERS. So I'm saying cheers, but you know what? That's where we root for one another these days. We're in our cheers, cheering. So look at the play on language. We're rooted in a cheer, but even when you cheer, you're rooting for someone. Control your vocabulary. Don't let your vocabulary control you, and stay creative with your vocabulary, with the things that you say. Hear what you say and know that you are a part of your message. All right. And what is that? When we say wow, God says now. That's it. All right. So make sure that you get those messages, share them, and most importantly, remember that GLUE, God's love undoes everything. I have a new message for you on Friday, but also I'll be posting my Zoom announcement later this afternoon once I get the time straight. But next Wednesday, I just don't know what time next Wednesday. Most likely, it's looking like it's going to be 6 o'clock next Wednesday for Masters of Change, Embracing Success's Challenge. All right. So this is what I definitely always want. I want to close with you and say this: wear your mask. Whether you're an entrepreneur or in a pandemic situation, wear your mask. It's going to be a great help for everybody. Most importantly, it's going to be a great help for you. And once you take care of you, you take care of a lot of people. So thanks so much. I'll do those closing comments. Cheers. I love this. And see, it doesn't matter how you hear cheers. It's how you spell it. That's how you spell it. It's how you hear it. Love seeing your sweet face and hearing your powerful words. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate that always. And be always for being authentic. Yeah. And people will remember that, because Karen and I, goodness, we go back more than a quarter of a century. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. So imagine how our relationship started in the 80s. And so I appreciate her for saying that I'm still authentic. Victoria says the same thing. Continue to be you. And this is I'm only good at being me. And I'll lose being sporty. I don't care. I can afford to lose that way, but not in a nasty way, not in an arrogant way, but in a way that knows that I'm doing God's work. And that what God has sent me to do, he's also sent someone, or Satan has sent someone, but so has God, has sent someone to try to throw me off my track. See, since I'm so into God, I don't bother thinking about what Satan is doing. When someone tries to throw me off my square, I believe that's someone God sent. Just like, ooh, who was it? Tony, you're the one that's good at coming up with this. But when Matthew was walking and the donkey wouldn't move and all of that, okay, and that's why it's called the oh man, I can't think of it. But anyway, recognize that 1983 was when I met Karen. Recognize that being you is what God sent you to do. So wear your mask. Thank y'all. God bless you. Share the message. and have a great day. Over and out. Ciao.